Admiral Jiwoo Kang stood in the command center, staring at the holographic display floating before him. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, and he had read it 20 times since then. Each time the words made his blood run colder. The room buzzed with tension. Officers moved between stations, their faces tight with worry. Outside the massive windows, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. Jiwoo had spent 40 years protecting that beautiful planet. He never imagined he would have to do it like this. Dr. Hyejin Park entered the room, her tablet clutched against her chest. She was the best xenobiologist on Earth, the woman who had helped humanity understand the alien species they met when they finally achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. Her face was pale. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the translation teams have confirmed it. There's no error in the message." Jiwoo nodded slowly. He had hoped there might be some mistake, some misunderstanding in the alien languages. But no, the Galactic Council meant exactly what they said. "Read it again," he told her, out loud. "Everyone needs to hear this." Hyejin's voice shook slightly as she read from her tablet. "To the primitive species of Earth. You have existed in Council space for 50 years without proper authorization. Your expansion violates ancient laws. You will surrender 70% of all resources. You will submit to Council authority. Your colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan will become protected territories under Council control. You have 30 days to comply. Failure to comply will result in pacification measures. This is not negotiable." Silence fell over the command center. Captain Doyen Lee, Jiwoo's tactical officer, slammed his fist on his console. "Pacification measures," he spat. "They mean war. They mean invasion. They mean slavery," Hyejin corrected softly. "I've studied the Council's history. They've done this before. 12 other species received similar ultimatums. The ones who refused were destroyed. Their survivors became servant species, working on Council worlds, forbidden to have their own governments or militaries." Jiwoo turned to face his officers. "Tell me about this Council." Hyejin pulled up images on the main display. 3 alien faces appeared. The Council is led by 3 ancient species. The Vraxi are insectoid, logical, and ruthless. They provide most of the military power. The Pelions are aquatic beings who control trade and economy. The Theron are crystalline entities who manage law and justice. Together they've ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years. "How many ships do they have?" Doyen asked. "Over 50,000 vessels in their combined fleets," Hyejin answered. "We have 200. The number hung in the air like a death sentence. Someone in the back of the room whispered a prayer. Jiwoo walked to the window, looking down at Earth. Somewhere down there, his daughter was teaching her first class of students. His grandson had just learned to walk. 8 billion people living their lives unaware that everything they knew was about to change. "What do the politicians say?" he asked. An aide stepped forward. "The World Assembly is divided, sir. Half want to negotiate. They think we can talk our way out of this. Maybe give them 30% instead of 70. The other half want to fight, but they don't see how we can win." "We can't win," someone muttered. "Not against 50,000 ships." Jiwoo turned back to face them. His jaw was set, his eyes hard. "That's not your decision to make. Our job is to protect Earth. We'll let the politicians debate. We'll prepare for war." "Admiral," Hyejin said carefully, "I need to show you something else. Something the Council sent as proof of their power." She pulled up another file. Video footage began to play. It showed a research station orbiting a distant planet. Jiwoo recognized it immediately. Station Horizon, humanity's furthest outpost where scientists studied exotic matter and pushed the boundaries of physics. In the video, 3 massive Council warships appeared. They were enormous, dwarfing the small research station. The station's commander tried to hail them, tried to explain they were peaceful scientists. The Council ships opened fire without warning. The station exploded in silence, no sound in the vacuum of space. But Jiwoo could imagine the screams. 3,000 people had lived on that station. Scientists, engineers, their families, children who went to school there. All gone in a flash of light. The room erupted in anger. Officers shouted. Fists pounded on consoles. Doyen's face went red with rage. "They killed our people," he growled. "They killed civilians, scientists, children." Hyejin's hand shook as she closed the video file. "This is their warning demonstration. They want us to know what happens if we refuse." Jiwoo felt something cold settle in his chest. Not fear, something else. Something that had lived in humanity's heart for thousands of years. Through every war, every invasion, every time someone tried to take what was theirs. Get me a secure line to the president, he said quietly, and send a coded message to all fleet commanders. Tell them to report to their ships immediately. An officer looked confused. Sir, we don't have enough ships to fight them. Jiwoo's lips curved into a grim smile. Who said anything about the ships you know about? The officer blinked. Sir? There are things you don't know, Jiwoo said. Things very few people know. We'll discuss them in the briefing. He looked at his watch. 29 days and 18 hours until the ultimatum expires. We have work to do. Hyejin stepped closer to him as the other officers began rushing to their tasks. Admiral, she said quietly. What do you know that I don't? Jiwoo looked at her seriously. 20 years ago, when we first made contact with the Council, our leaders weren't fools. They saw how the Council treated newer species. They saw the arrogance, the contempt, and they made a decision. They smiled and played nice while secretly preparing for the day the Council would show its true face. What did they prepare? Everything, Jiwoo said simply. Ships, weapons, bases hidden in the outer asteroid belts where Council sensors can't reach. We've been building an invisible fleet for 2 decades, Doctor. The 200 ships the Council knows about, that's just what we wanted them to see. Hyejin's eyes widened. How many ships do we really have? Enough to make them regret that demonstration. His voice turned hard. They killed our people to scare us. They thought we would surrender out of fear. They don't understand humans. Fear doesn't make us surrender. Fear makes us fight, the communication officer called out. Admiral, the president is on the secure line. Jiwoo straightened his uniform. Before he walked to take the call, he looked once more at the footage of Station Horizon's destruction, frozen on the screen. They wanted to send us a message, he said softly. Now we'll send them one, and ours will be written in fire. The diplomatic shuttle launched from Earth with great ceremony. News cameras from around the world captured the moment. The message was clear. Humanity was preparing to negotiate with the Galactic Council. Politicians in expensive suits smiled and talked about peaceful solutions. It was all a lie. Deep in the command center, Admiral Jiwoo watched the shuttle depart with cold satisfaction. The Council was watching too, he knew. Their spy satellites orbited throughout the solar system, monitoring everything Earth did. Let them watch the shuttle. Let them think humanity was ready to surrender. Commander Sora Han worked at her station in the corner of the room, fingers flying across holographic keyboards that only she could see. She was thin and quiet, the kind of person who disappeared in crowds, perfect for an intelligence officer. Her specialty was cyber warfare, and she was very good at her job. Admiral, she said without looking up, I'm inside their communication network. They're definitely watching the diplomatic shuttle. Their command is pleased. They think we're giving up. Good, Jiwoo replied. Keep them thinking that. Captain Doyen entered the room, followed by 2 people Jiwoo hadn't seen in months. General Taiho Choi commanded Earth's ground forces, a massive man with scars on his face from the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. Next to him was Engineer Narration, small and young but brilliant beyond her years. The pieces are moving, Taiho said, his voice like gravel. My troops are being quietly repositioned. The Council thinks we're standing down our military. We're actually putting everyone on high alert. Nari pulled up a holographic display, showing a weapon design that made several officers gasp. It looked like a massive lance made of pure energy. This is what I've been building for the last 5 years, she said excitedly. We call it a kinetic lance. It uses gravity manipulation to accelerate projectiles to near light speed. At that velocity, even a small piece of metal has the destructive power of a nuclear bomb, and the target can't dodge because by the time they see it coming, it's already hit them. How many do we have? Jiwoo asked. 47 platforms, Nari answered, hidden on Mars in the asteroid belt and on the moons of Jupiter. Each platform can fire 6 shots before needing to recharge. Dr. Hyejin studied the weapon design with concern. This is incredibly destructive. That's the idea, Nari said without apology. The Council wants war. We'll give them war they've never imagined. Doyen pointed to another display showing star maps. The Council spy satellites are the problem. They're watching everything we do in near-Earth space. We need to blind them before we can move our hidden fleet. Sora finally looked up, a small smile on her face. Already working on it. I've been studying their satellite network for weeks. They're old, Admiral. Really old. The Council has been at peace so long they haven't updated their technology in centuries. Their satellites have vulnerabilities I can exploit. How long to take them down? Jiwoo asked. I don't want to take them down, Sora said. That would alert them something is wrong. Instead, I'll hack them and feed false data. They'll keep seeing what they expect to see. Earth preparing to surrender. They won't see our fleet moving into position. Over the next 10 days, Earth's secret plan unfolded like a carefully choreographed dance. To outside observers, humanity appeared to be dismantling its military. Ships returned to dock. Weapons platforms powered down. Soldiers went on leave. The truth was very different. In the hidden asteroid bases beyond Neptune, thousands of workers labored around the clock. Jiwoo took a secret trip there on day 14, traveling in a stealth ship that slipped past Council sensors. The base was massive, hollowed out from an asteroid the size of a small moon. Inside, Jiwoo saw rows and rows of warships. They were sleek and deadly, painted black to blend with space. Each one bristled with weapons humanity had designed specifically for this coming war. 2,000 ships, the base commander reported proudly, every single one ready for combat. Jiwoo walked among the ships, running his hand along their hulls. 20 years of secret construction, 20 years of preparing for this exact moment. The Council thought Earth was weak and primitive. They were about to learn the truth. Back on Earth, Hyejin was making discoveries of her own. She spent her days studying every piece of data humanity had collected about the Council over the decades. What she found was troubling. Admiral, you need to see this, she said during a briefing on day 17. She pulled up Council history files. The Council has been at peace for 800 years. In that time, they haven't fought a real war. Their conflicts are small, limited. They have rules. When two Council species have a dispute, they fight with small fleets in designated areas. They never target civilians. They never destroy infrastructure. They see that as barbaric. So they're soft, Taeho said. Soft and arrogant, Hyejin confirmed. They've forgotten what total war looks like. But humanity, she paused, looking around the room. We've never forgotten. Our history is written in blood. World War I, World War II, the Resource Wars, the Mars Rebellion. We know what it means to fight for survival. Doyen leaned forward. So they'll expect us to fight by their rules. Honor combat, limited engagement. And we'll do the opposite, Jiwoo finished. We'll fight to win, by any means necessary. On day 22, Sora completed her masterwork. She didn't just hack the Council's spy satellites. She penetrated their entire communication network. Data flowed into Earth's computers, fleet positions, command codes, strategic plans, even personal messages between Council leaders. This is incredible, she told Jiwoo. I can read everything they're saying. They're completely confident. They're planning the occupation of Earth like it's already done. They're arguing about which species gets to claim which territories. What about their fleet? Jiwoo asked. Sora pulled up the data. 5,000 ships are gathering at the edge of our solar system. They'll arrive in 8 days to accept Earth's surrender. The rest of their fleet is scattered across the galaxy, not expecting trouble. 5,000 ships, Taeho muttered. Still more than twice what we have. Numbers aren't everything, Nari said. She displayed another weapon system. This is our skip drive. Normal faster-than-light travel takes time to charge up. You can't use it in combat, but we've modified our drives. Our ships can make short FTL jumps instantly, even in battle. We can appear, fire, and vanish before the enemy can target us. The Council tried to develop skip drives centuries ago, Hyejin added, but they decided it was too dangerous and unpredictable. They banned the research, Doyen grinned, so we'll have a combat advantage they've never seen. We'll be like ghosts, there 1 second, gone the next. The diplomatic shuttle returned on day 25 with Earth's official response to the Council. The message was carefully worded, seeming to accept the Council's terms while asking for small adjustments. It was designed to buy time and keep the Council confident. The Council bought it completely. Their response was dismissive and arrogant. The Vraxi commander sent a message saying Earth should be grateful to be joining galactic civilization, even as servants. They really think we're going to roll over and surrender, Doyen said, reading the Council's reply. Let them think that, Jiwoo said. In 3 days, their fleet will arrive expecting a ceremony. Instead, they'll get the fight of their lives. On day 28, Jiwoo gathered his commanders for the final briefing. On the holographic display, the solar system glowed with tactical markers. Red dots showed where council ships would arrive. Blue dots showed where Earth's hidden fleet waited in ambush. Gentleman, lady, Jiwoo began, looking at each person in turn. In 2 days, the council fleet will enter our home system. They think they're coming to accept our surrender. They think they'll occupy our planet, enslave our people, and add humanity to their list of conquered species. He paused, letting his words sink in. They're wrong. We're going to hit them harder than they've ever been hit. We're going to show them that Earth doesn't surrender. Earth fights. And when Earth fights, galaxies tremble. Taeho stood up. For Station Horizon. For the 3,000 people they murdered. One by one, the others stood. For Station Horizon, they repeated. Jiwoo looked at each of them. Sora, who would blind the enemy. Doyeon, who would lead the attack. Nari, whose weapons would rain fire. Taeho, who prepared the ground forces. Hijin, who understood the enemy. 2 days, he said quietly. Then we show the galaxy what humans can do. The council fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 5,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. They were massive vessels, some as large as cities, their hulls gleaming with the confidence of a power that had ruled the galaxy for 2 millennia. On the lead ship, Council Ambassador Velkrin prepared his victory speech. He was Vraxi, his insectoid body covered in ceremonial armor that signified his rank. This would be his greatest achievement, bringing the troublesome humans under proper control. Send the final demand, he ordered. The message broadcasted across all human channels. Velkrin's translated voice echoed in every home, every ship, every station in human space. Humans of Earth, the time has come. Surrender your weapons. Surrender your authority. Surrender your pride. You will be incorporated into the Galactic Council as a protected species. Resistance is futile and will be met with complete destruction. You have 1 hour to respond. On Earth in the command center, Admiral Jiwoo read the message and smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Send our response, he said. The communications officer hesitated. Sir, are you sure? The message is very short. Send it. Across space, Velkrin received humanity's reply. It was only 3 words spoken in Admiral Jiwoo's calm, cold voice. No. Leave now. Velkrin's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. The bridge crew around him made similar sounds of amusement. Leave, the humans ordered them to leave. With 5,000 ships against Earth's pathetic fleet of 200. These primitives are either brave or stupid, Velkrin said. Prepare to advance. Target their military satellites first. Show them we mean business. That's when the trap sprung. Throughout the asteroid belt, defense platforms that had been hidden for years suddenly activated. Power signatures blazed across council sensors. Before Velkrin could react, the first kinetic lance fired. The projectile crossed the distance between Mars' orbit and the council fleet in seconds. It hit a council warship dead center. At near-light speed, the impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear blast. The ship simply vaporized, there one moment and gone the next. What was that? Velkrin shouted. Where did that come from? More platforms fired. More council ships exploded. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos as captains tried to evade weapons they couldn't see until they hit. Then Captain Doyeon's fleet attacked. 500 warships appeared from behind Jupiter, seeming to materialize from nothing. But these weren't the slow, predictable ships the Council expected. These ships moved impossibly fast, using their skip drives to make short, faster-than-light jumps even in combat. A human destroyer appeared next to a Council cruiser, fired a full broadside, then vanished before the Council ship could return fire. The cruiser's shields collapsed, its hull breached in a dozen places. Again and again, the pattern repeated. Human ships would appear, strike, and disappear like ghosts. The Council's superior numbers meant nothing when they couldn't target the enemy. This is impossible, Velkrin's tactical officer shouted. They're using skip drives in combat. That technology is forbidden. It's too dangerous. Tell them that! Velkrin roared as another Council ship exploded on his screens. Commander Sora watched from her station on Earth, her fingers dancing across controls. The Council fleet was blind and confused. Their communications were being jammed by signals she was broadcasting. Their sensors were being fooled by false readings she was feeding them. Every time they tried to coordinate, she disrupted them. Enemy command ship is trying to organize a counterattack, she reported, scrambling their signals now. Engineer Nari monitored her kinetic lances. Platform 7 needs to recharge. Platforms 12 and 15 are firing now. More council ships died. The sleek vessels that had inspired fear across the galaxy were being torn apart by weapons and tactics they had never encountered. Doyen led his squadron through the chaos with deadly precision. His ship appeared above a council carrier, launched a full missile spread, then jumped away. The carrier's shields held for a moment, then collapsed. Secondary explosions rippled through its hull. All ships target their supply vessels, Doyen ordered. Without fuel and ammunition, their big ships are just expensive targets. The human fleet shifted tactics. The Council had brought massive warships but relatively few support ships, confident the battle would be quick. Human fighters swarmed the supply vessels, destroying them systematically. On the Council flagship, Velkrin watched his perfect invasion turn into a nightmare. In the first 4 hours, he had lost 800 ships. 800! The humans had lost only 30. Pull back, he ordered. Regroup at Point Delta 7. But even retreat was difficult. Human ships pursued relentlessly, appearing at random points in the Council formation, striking and vanishing. There was no safe space, no moment to breathe. General Taiho watched the battle from the ground command center. His troops weren't needed yet, but they were ready. He accessed the communication channels and broadcast on every frequency, making sure every Council ship could hear. Attention, Council fleet. His rough voice echoed across space. You came to our home. You threatened our children. You killed our people at Station Horizon to scare us. Now you see what human retaliation looks like. We don't fight your civilized wars with your civilized rules. We fight to win. Remember this moment. Remember that humanity doesn't surrender. His words sent a chill through the Council fleet. This wasn't the limited, honorable combat they were used to. This was something primal and terrifying, something their species had forgotten in 800 years of peace. Velkrin's ship shook as a human missile made it through the shields. Damage reports flooded in. His perfect victory was collapsing into catastrophic defeat. Send a distress call to Council Command, he ordered, his voice shaking. Request immediate reinforcements. Tell them the humans are more dangerous than we thought. But Commander Sora intercepted the message. She let it go through but delayed it by hours. By the time Council Command received it, the battle would be over. More human ships appeared on the battlefield. Not 500 now, but 1,500 more, emerging from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They had been waiting in the dark, engines cold, invisible to Council sensors. The Council officers on Velkrin's bridge stared at the tactical display in horror. The humans had 2,000 ships? 2,000? Where had they come from? They've been building a secret fleet, Velkrin whispered, finally understanding. All this time, while they smiled and pretended to be peaceful, they were preparing for war. A human battleship appeared directly in front of Velkrin's flagship. For a moment, the two ships faced each other across the void. Then the human ship fired everything it had. Missiles, lasers, kinetic weapons all at once. Velkrin's flagship shields held for 10 seconds, then failed catastrophically. The bridge exploded. Emergency systems kicked in, sealing bulkheads and saving some of the crew, but the ship was crippled. Dr. Heejin monitored the battle from her lab, analyzing the Council's tactics. What she saw confirmed her research. The Council was trying to fight an honorable battle, targeting military ships while avoiding excessive casualties. They were still following their ancient rules of war. The humans followed no such rules. They targeted command ships to create chaos. They destroyed supply lines to cripple the fleet. They used every dirty trick and unconventional tactic in the book. They're not ready for this, she reported to Admiral Jiwoo. They haven't fought a real war in so long. They've forgotten how brutal war can be. After 6 hours of combat, the Council fleet was broken. Of the 5,000 ships that had arrived with such confidence, only 1,000 remained functional. The rest were destroyed or crippled beyond repair. The survivors began jumping to faster-than-light speed, fleeing the solar system in disorder. Some captains were so panicked they didn't even check their navigation, jumping in random directions just to escape. Captain Doyen's ship pursued the fleeing enemy, firing at their engines, making sure they ran fast and far. On Earth, Admiral Jiwoo watched the tactical display. Red icons representing Council ships were winking out or fleeing. Blue icons representing human ships remained strong. The victory was complete, but he didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. Instead, he opened a channel to all his ship commanders. All fleet captains, this is Admiral Jiwoo. Well done. But this battle was just the beginning. The Council will not accept this defeat. They'll send more ships, bigger fleets, so we won't give them time to recover. He paused, letting his words sink in. We're taking the fight to them. We're going to Council space. They wanted to show us their power. Now we'll show them ours. Prepare for deep space operations. We leave in 12 hours. In the wreckage of the battlefield, pieces of Council ships drifted in the darkness. Among them floated the bodies of those who had come to conquer Earth. It was a grim reminder of the price of underestimating humanity. The Council had poked the bear. Now the bear was coming for them. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Earth, the primitive newcomer species, had destroyed a Council fleet. 4,000 ships gone. The survivors told stories of ghost ships that appeared and vanished, of weapons that struck from impossible distances, of humans who fought without honor or mercy. On the Council homeworld of Raxus Prime, emergency sessions were called. The Grand Chamber filled with representatives from dozens of species all talking at once. Fear filled the air like smoke. The Pelian counselor Morvash floated in his water tank, his tentacles rippling with anxiety. This is unprecedented. No species has successfully resisted us in 2,000 years. What do? We destroy them completely, snarled Craven, the Vraxi military commander. His insect eyes glowed with rage. We mobilize the full might of the Council. We turn their planet into dust. The Theron counselor Luminex pulsed with light from within its crystalline body. Perhaps we should reconsider. Maybe we were too harsh with our demands. Too harsh? Craven's mandibles clicked furiously. They destroyed our fleet. They must be punished as an example to others. But it was too late for simple punishment. Captain Doyen's task force had already entered Council space. The first target was a military outpost on the edge of Vraxi territory. It was a supply depot, home to 300 support staff and protected by only 50 guard ships. They never saw the attack coming. Human ships appeared in orbit at dawn. The kinetic lances fired first, destroying the outpost's defensive platforms in seconds. Then Doyen's destroyers swept through the guard ships like wolves through sheep. The entire battle lasted 20 minutes. By the time reinforcements arrived, the human fleet had vanished. 3 days later, they hit again. This time, a Council communications hub that coordinated fleet movements across an entire sector. Commander Sora had identified it as a key target. Taking it out would blind Council operations for weeks. Lieutenant Yuna Bay led the fighter squadron for this mission. She was young, only 24, but she flew like she was born in a cockpit. Her squadron of 30 fighters appeared in the system, flying so fast the defenders barely had time to scramble their own fighters. Break and attack, Yuna ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline pumping through her veins. Remember, hit fast and get out. Her fighter dove toward the communications hub, dodging defensive fire. Her targeting computer locked on. She fired, her missiles streaking toward the station. They hit perfectly, punching through shields and armor to strike the reactor core. The entire station exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Target destroyed, Yuna reported. All fighters form up for extraction. But a Council heavy cruiser had arrived, its weapons charging. It fired a spread of plasma bolts at Yuna's squadron. 2 fighters were hit, vaporized instantly. Yuna felt anger flood through her. Those were her pilots. Her friends. Change of plans, she said coldly. We're taking that cruiser down. Lieutenant, we should retreat, her wingman protested. That ship is 50 times our size. I don't care. They killed our people. We're returning the favor. The fighters regrouped and attacked the cruiser from multiple angles. It was like mosquitoes attacking an elephant. But these mosquitoes had very sharp stingers. Yuna targeted the cruiser's engine ports, the weak points where shields were thinnest. Her missiles hit home. The cruiser's engines exploded, sending the massive ship spinning out of control. Without power, its shields failed. The other fighters poured fire into the exposed hull. When the cruiser exploded, Yuna felt no satisfaction, only cold determination. The footage of her attack spread across the galaxy through news networks. Young Lieutenant Yuna Bay, destroying a Council heavy cruiser with just fighters. She became a symbol, her face appearing on broadcasts throughout human space and beyond. Other species watched and whispered, if the humans can fight like this, maybe we can too. Dr. Hyojin worked tirelessly, broadcasting messages across the galaxy. She released all the evidence Earth had collected. Recordings of the Council's ultimatum, footage of Station Horizon's destruction, proof that the Council had killed 3,000 civilians without warning. "The Council calls us primitive," she said in one broadcast. "But who is truly primitive? We who fight to protect our families? Or they who murder scientists and children to make a point?" Her messages reached species who had suffered under Council rule for centuries. Subjugated worlds began to question the Council's authority. Protests broke out on a dozen planets. The Council's perfect order was cracking. On Vraxis Prime, Krivan mobilized his forces with fury. He assembled the largest fleet the galaxy had seen in 800 years. 3,000 of the best Vraxi warships, commanded by experienced officers who had trained their entire lives for war, even if they had never seen it. "The humans think they can attack us with impunity," Krivan told his commanders. "We will show them the true might of the Council. We will crush them so completely that their name will become a warning to all who dare challenge us." The Theron counselor Luminex tried to argue for negotiation. "They are defending their home. Perhaps if we withdraw our demands—" "Never!" Krivan roared. "The Council does not negotiate with rebels. We do not show weakness. If we back down now, every species in the galaxy will think they can defy us." The massive Vraxi fleet began moving toward human territory. It would take them 2 weeks to reach the borders of Earth's space. Long enough for humanity to prepare. Admiral Jiwoo received the intelligence from Commander Sora. 3,000 ships, he said quietly, studying the data. "They're serious this time." "We're outnumbered," General Tejo said. "Even with our tricks and tactics, 3,000 veteran ships against our 2,000 is bad odds." Engineer Nari looked thoughtful. "Not if we change the playing field. Admiral, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work." She pulled up designs for a new weapon. "We call it a gravity well. It's a massive device that creates a gravity field strong enough to prevent faster-than-light travel in an entire sector. If we deploy it at the right location, we can trap their fleet, prevent them from escaping or getting reinforcements." "How long to build it?" Jiwoo asked. "It's already built. We just need to deploy it." Nari smiled. "I've been working on this for 6 years. I always knew we'd need it someday." The trap was set at Proxima Station, a neutral trading post near the border between Council and human space. It was the perfect location. Open space where both fleets could maneuver, far enough from inhabited worlds that civilian casualties would be minimal. Captain Doyen led the evacuation of the station. "Everyone out," he ordered. "This is about to become the biggest battlefield in galactic history." The human fleet gathered. 2,000 ships, every single vessel humanity could spare. Crews were tense but determined. They knew this might be the final battle, the moment that would decide whether humanity remained free or became slaves. Lieutenant Yuna stood in her fighter bay, watching techs load missiles onto her ship. She thought about her family on Earth, her little brother who wanted to be a pilot like her. She thought about the people killed at Station Horizon. She thought about all the species watching to see if humanity could win. "For Earth," she whispered, climbing into her cockpit. The Vraxi fleet arrived in force, 3,000 warships gleaming and terrible. They formed a battle line so large it stretched across the view screens, a wall of metal and fury. Krivan broadcast his challenge on all frequencies. "Humans, you have fought well, but this ends now. Surrender and we will be merciful. Continue to resist and we will erase you from history." Admiral Jiwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, Earth's largest battleship. Around him, his crew waited for orders. Behind his ship, 2,000 more vessels held position, ready to fight. He opened a channel broadcasting to both fleets. "Council Commander Craven, we didn't want this war. We offered friendship. We offered cooperation. You responded with threats and murder. You came to our home and killed our people. You left us no choice but to fight." He paused, his voice growing harder. "We will finish it. Not because we want to, but because we must. Every human ship, every human weapon, every human heart is dedicated to one simple goal. We will never be slaves. We will never surrender. And if you force us to choose between freedom and destruction, we choose freedom." He looked at his tactical officer. "Deploy the gravity well. All ships prepare for combat." The device activated. Invisible fields of twisted gravity spread across the sector. Suddenly, every ship in the area, human and council alike, found their faster-than-light drives disabled. There would be no retreating from this battle. No running away. Creven realized what had happened and felt a cold chill. The humans had trapped both fleets. This would be a fight to the finish. All ships, Jiwoo ordered quietly. Attack! The space between the two fleets exploded with fire as the largest battle in galactic history began. The battle began with a fury that shook space itself. 3,000 council ships against 2,000 human vessels, trapped in a sphere of twisted gravity with no escape. This would be the fight that decided everything. The council fleet advanced in perfect formation, their ships moving in coordinated waves like they had practiced for centuries in simulations. They were disciplined, organized, and confident in their numerical advantage. The human fleet scattered like a swarm of angry bees. Captain Doyen's strategy was simple: chaos. Don't give the enemy a clear target, don't fight the way they expect, and never ever play by their rules. His ships used their skip drives to jump around the battlefield, appearing behind council lines, firing, then vanishing to a new position. Commander Creven watched his tactical display with growing frustration. Every time his ships locked onto a human vessel, it disappeared. His careful formations were being torn apart by an enemy that refused to stand and fight properly. "They have no honor," his tactical officer complained. "They won't face us in direct combat." "Honor doesn't matter if you're dead," Creven snarled. "Adapt, spread the fleet out. Stop trying to maintain formation. Hunt them in small groups," but that's exactly what the humans wanted. The moment the council fleet spread out, they became vulnerable. Human destroyers picked off isolated council ships, using their superior speed and maneuverability to devastating effect. Lieutenant Yuna led her fighter squadron through the chaos like a needle through cloth. Her target was one of the council's massive carrier ships protected by hundreds of fighters and defensive guns. "All fighters on me," she ordered. "We're going for the carrier." "That's suicide," someone protested. "No, that's tactics," Yuna replied. "Trust me." Her squadron dove toward the carrier from above, moving so fast the defensive guns couldn't track them. Council fighters scrambled to intercept, but Yuna had timed it perfectly. A human battleship appeared via skip drive, drawing the carrier's attention for just 3 seconds. 3 seconds was all Yuna needed. Her missiles launched, streaking toward the carrier's hangar bay. They punched through the shields and exploded inside, triggering secondary explosions throughout the massive ship. The carrier broke apart, spilling fighters and debris into space. "Carrier down," Yuna reported, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. "Moving to next target." Footage of her attack was being broadcast across the galaxy in real time by news drones that had positioned themselves at safe distances. Billions of beings watched as the young human pilot destroyed ship after ship with impossible skill. Engineer Nari coordinated her weapons platforms from Earth. She had deployed every kinetic lance, every missile battery, every piece of equipment she had built over the years. The platforms fired in calculated patterns, creating zones of destruction that forced the council fleet to move where the humans wanted them. "Platform 23 is recharging," she reported. "Platform 31 has target lock. Firing." Another council ship exploded, hit by a projectile moving at near light speed. The council had nothing that could match the kinetic lance's range or power. They were being picked apart from distances their own weapons couldn't reach. On the ground command center, General Taiho watched the battle with satisfaction. His troops weren't needed in space, but he was already planning the next phase. If they won this battle, the ground war would begin. Council worlds would need to be occupied, secured, and controlled. "Prepare the landing forces," he ordered. "If we win here, we'll need boots on the ground within days." Dr. Hijin was still broadcasting to the galaxy, but now her message had changed. Instead of just showing the Council's crimes, she was showing humanity's strength. "Watch," she told her audience. "Watch as Earth proves that might does not make right. Watch as we defend our freedom against those who would enslave us. To all species under Council rule, you are not alone. Resistance is possible. Freedom is worth fighting for." Her words spread like fire through dry grass. On subjugated worlds, riots broke out. Worker strikes shut down factories. The carefully ordered council civilization was beginning to crack under the pressure. The battle raged for 12 hours without pause. Ships on both sides were destroyed, brave souls dying in the cold of space. But slowly the tide turned. Human tactics and weapons were taking a terrible toll. Commander Creven's flagship shook from another hit. His bridge crew was exhausted, many injured. The tactical display showed the truth he didn't want to accept. He was losing. 8,000 of his 3,000 ships were gone, destroyed or disabled. The humans had lost 600. A human battleship appeared directly in his path. It was damaged, scarred from battle, but still fighting. For a moment, Krevan saw the face of the human commander on his screen. Admiral Jiwoo looked tired but determined. "This is your last chance," Jiwoo said. "Surrender now. Order your fleet to stand down." Enough beings have died today. Krevan's pride warred with his duty. To surrender would be the ultimate shame, but to continue would mean the death of every soldier under his command. He looked around his bridge at the young officers who trusted him to lead them. Many were injured. All were terrified. He had led them into this trap. Krevan began, then stopped. His mandibles clicked in the Vraxi gesture of defeat. "I surrender. All ships, cease fire. Stand down." The Council fleet stopped fighting. Across the battlefield, weapons powered down. Ships that had been trying to kill each other moments ago now simply drifted in uneasy silence. The human fleet maintained combat readiness, but held their fire. Admiral Jiwoo had won, but he took no pleasure in it. Too many had died on both sides. Within hours, shuttles began moving between the fleets. Admiral Jiwoo, General Taiho, and Dr. Heejin boarded the Council flagship for the formal surrender. Krevan met them in his damaged conference room. The Vraxi commander looked defeated, his ceremonial armor cracked and stained. "State your terms," he said simply. Jiwoo pulled up a document. His terms were harsh but not cruel. "First, the Council will issue a public apology to humanity and to all species it has wronged. Second, full reparations for Station Horizon and all human casualties. Third, Earth receives a full Council seat with equal voting rights to all other members. Fourth, all subjugated species will be offered independence referendums supervised by neutral parties. Fifth, the Council military will be reduced by 70%. Sixth, no Council military vessel enters the Sol system for 100 years without explicit permission from Earth." Krevan's eyes widened. "You're not demanding our destruction? Our enslavement? That's your way, not ours," General Taiho said. "We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to be left alone to live in peace." Dr. Heejin added softly, "We fight only when forced. We don't conquer for the sake of conquering. That's the difference between us." The Theran counselor Luminex arrived via hologram, the crystalline being pulsed with a light that seemed sad. "We accept these terms. We were arrogant. We thought our age and our technology made us superior. But we forgot that the strongest species isn't the one with the biggest fleet. It's the one that refuses to give up." Commander Sora, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. She displayed a holographic map showing every Council homeworld, every military base, every strategic location, complete intelligence that could be used to devastate the Council if they broke the agreement. "This is our insurance policy," she said quietly. "We know where everything is. If you ever threaten Earth again, we won't fight at your borders. We'll appear in orbit over your homeworlds. Remember that." The threat hung in the air. The Council representatives understood perfectly. Humanity had the knowledge and the will to strike at the heart of Council power if necessary. Over the next weeks, the galaxy transformed. The Galactic Council formally apologized in a ceremony broadcast to trillions of beings. 47 subjugated species held referendums and most voted for independence. The monolithic council began restructuring itself into the Galactic Assembly, where every species had an equal voice. Lieutenant Yuna received the Earth Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration. She stood before crowds of admirers, her face on every screen in human space, but she remained humble. "I didn't do anything special," she told reporters. "I just did what any human would do. Fought for my home, protected my family, and refused to give up. That's what we are. That's what we'll always be." 5 years later, Admiral Jiwoo stood in the new Galactic Assembly Hall. It was a magnificent building on a neutral world, designed to represent all species equally. 200 species now sat in the assembly, each with an equal vote, each with the freedom to govern themselves. Commander Sora joined him at the observation window. Below, delegates from across the galaxy debated trade agreements and scientific cooperation. It was loud and chaotic and messy, but it was democracy. "The galaxy will never see us the same way again," Sora said, repeating what she'd said years before after the first battle. Jiwoo nodded. "Good, they feared us into war. Now they respect us into peace." He thought about all that had happened. The ultimatum, the battles, the blood, the sacrifice. It had been necessary, but he hoped it would never be necessary again. On Earth, children learned about the war in their history classes. They learned about Station Horizon, about the brave souls who refused to surrender, about Lieutenant Yuna,